Okay, so at this point you should have completed the literary terms assignment. Your next assignment is going to be this literary analysis essay, but there's a lot that's involved in this, and so I'm going to walk you through this from the beginning. So first, you should take a look at this MLA style guide. This helps you understand how you're going to do citations in in MLA style. And then I've also got options here for you about how to format a Word document or format a Google Doc in MLA style, whichever one is appropriate for you. Okay, so you'll want to look at those things. You need to know, how do I cite information in MLA style, and how do I actually set up the document so that it looks right. Here I've given you an outline that you can use for your paper, and I've given it to you as a document and as a PDF. Okay, so there it is. I'm going to come back to this in a moment. You're going to work on your paper, and you're going to submit it to me for me to review. This is so that I can provide you with detailed feedback on your work. So the idea is that you're going to have a completed paper that you'll submit here, and I'll then make comments on that paper and say, you need to fix this, you need to fix this, you did this really well, in an effort to try and get you to be able to have the best possible final draft that you'll end up submitting here. Okay? Now you might go, okay, so I'm writing this paper, but what's the paper on? Well, if we click on Literary Analysis Essay, we find all of the details. So the purpose is to engage in critical thinking about a literary text. It's going to be about the birthmark, and apply your knowledge of various literary elements to explain how those techniques contribute to the meaning of the text. Okay, so you're going to be reading the birthmark or applying it to the birthmark. Here's the prompt. In a well-developed essay, use specific examples from 3 different literary techniques in the birthmark. What types of literary techniques? Those 12 that you did earlier on the literary, what was it called? The literary terms assignment. So things like tone, mood, allegory, allusion. You're going to pick 3 of those, and you're going to write about, well, how do those actually contribute to the overall meaning of the story? Okay, so specifically explain how the selected literary devices and examples contribute to the revelation, meaning the meaning of the story. Now, when we're talking about the meaning of the story, you need to be aware that the story isn't just about some guy who does experiments and he ends up experimenting on his wife, right? There's a lot more to it than that. You can look at it from a feminist lens or through a feminist lens. Maybe to you the story is about power in relationships. Maybe it's about how there should be equality in a relationship, or how the woman should not just be subservient and submissive to whatever her husband says, the danger of that. Maybe that's the meaning for you. Maybe you read it as a religious allegory in which you saw that she is a Christ-like figure who kind of takes on her husband's problems and sins and blamelessly self-sacrifices herself for his sake. Maybe you saw it in a historical light because it was written in 1843 and it took place at around the turn of the previous century. So it's around like before the turn of the previous century, so like the 1790s. Maybe you saw this as having some sort of social message based on the history of the time. But those are all ideas about the deeper meaning of the story, and you want to tell me in your paper what is the deeper meaning of the story as it's revealed through those 3 literary elements that you're going to work with. Okay, so you're going to choose 3 from allusion, allegory, foil, foreshadowing, etc., and there's that list again. Your paper should be at least 2 pages typed, double-spaced in MLA format. It should have 1-inch margins, Times New Roman font, 12-point, all that stuff in that previous video about how to set up your page in MLA style. That's what you want. So what should you do? Read the short story and identify the facets of the human experience conveyed in the text, right? Is this about relationships? Is this about power? Is this about women's roles? Is this about equality? Is this about religion? What's it about? Okay, select 3 of the literary devices that you believe help contribute to the meaning of that story. Choose several examples of each, and you've already done some of this work, right, in the previous assignment. So that was meant to prepare you for this. And then develop a strong thesis to focus and guide your ideas. I'm going to give you some tips on writing a thesis statement in a minute. And then plan and outline your essay for cohesive organization. I've got an outline that you can use. And then you'll compose your essay and be sure to properly quote and cite your examples using MLA conventions. And it says you'll share a draft and a peer review. That's what we do in the face-to-face classes. This is online, so you're just going to send it to me for me to review, okay? And then it gives you your grading criteria. So I promised you that I was going to help you with a few things like the thesis statement. So let me pull this up. When you're writing your thesis statement, you want to use the 1, 2, 3 method, okay? The thesis, it says, is the key to structuring the essay. If your thesis is weak, so is the structure of your essay. If your thesis is strong, then you have started to develop a stronger structure for the paper. So I recommend that you include 3 concise points that capture your reasons for whatever your topic is. Like, in this one is like, for social media is beneficial or detrimental to society, and you give your 3 reasons. That was something from the previous class, English 111. But in this case, since we're talking about Hawthorne's story, you're going to tell us Hawthorne conveys a message about something, okay? And this is, you need to fill in the blank. This is where you're going to say what you think the story means about power in relationships, or about equality in relationships, or a message about religion, or a message about self-sacrifice, or whatever you think the story is about, okay? Hawthorne conveys a message about that by using 1, 2, and 3, okay? So I have an example here. Hawthorne conveys a message about how power corrupts by using 1, metaphors, comma, similes, comma, and allegories. So now I've indicated in my thesis statement not only what do I think the story is about how power corrupts, but I've also indicated how he conveys that message by using 3 things: metaphors, similes, and allegories. Again, you get to choose your 3, and you get to choose what you think the meaning is, but use this formula. Hawthorne conveys a message about something by using, and then list the 3 literary devices that you want to talk about. That's your thesis statement. 1 single sentence that clearly lets us know what your paper is going to be about. Okay? Now, let's say that I am starting my paper, and I formatted my paper to have my last name and the page number in the top right corner, my first and last name, my teacher's name, the class title, the date, the title of my paper, and I've started writing. Where does my thesis statement go? It's going to be the very last sentence of the first paragraph. Okay, so I'm going to have an introduction here, and I've got a thesis statement that is the last sentence of that paragraph. Now here is a key point with the structure. The very first topic, in this case metaphors, becomes my topic sentence for my first body paragraph. Okay, so I wrote Hawthorne conveys a message about how power corrupts by using metaphors. I'm going to take that and make that be the topic sentence of this paragraph. And then I'm going to give all kinds of evidence and details and everything that supports it. You see, on that outline that I gave you, that I've shown you that, we have the thesis statement, and then the first body paragraph is about that first idea from your thesis. So you want a topic sentence that restates what that idea is, then give evidence and examples and analyze the importance of it, right? And then you're going to move on to whatever the second idea from your thesis statement is. And you do the same thing. In this case, it's about similes. So I'm going to say, my next body paragraph, Hawthorne also uses similes to show the corrupting influence of power, and then I'll give some examples and details of how he uses similes and draw that out. And then I use the third point from my thesis, which is allegories, to introduce the third main idea. Okay, and then I give examples. Now, in my outline, it also mentions that in the conclusion you restate your thesis in a fresh way and should tie things together and answer the question, so what, or why does this matter? What should the reader know or do with this information? So down here I've restated my thesis statement. In the birthmark, Hawthorne employed metaphors, similes, and allegories as rhetorical tools to warn the reader about the corrupting influence of excessive power. Okay, and then I've wrapped things up. And there were some other details about the intro you'll see here on the outline. You want to start off by introducing the title of the text, the author's name, and the main idea of the text. You won't believe how many essays I get where students don't do this. Please tell me what you read, who wrote it, and what it's about. That's what you should do in the first couple sentences. In The Birthmark by Nathaniel Hawthorne, the author tells a story about this. Tell us what it is. Okay? So you're going to work on this. You're going to submit a completed draft to me by the appropriate date for instructor review. I'll give you feedback on it, and then you'll submit the final draft here. Send me an email if you have questions. Thanks.